G'day viewers. So we've made some progress on the interpretation of the Turkish Disarm. Jay very cleverly went back and looked at a lot of other sources describing very similar disarms, came to some very interesting conclusions, and did another video with a reinterpretation of the Turkish Disarm, which is much better. Okay, really well done, Jay. But I am still not satisfied. So this is where we're up to with the Turkish Disarm. Okay, Jay has cleverly discovered that the half lunge forward is not made on the parry, which, as I said before, would be a bad idea because I'm lunging my leg into distance. It is separate. So the parry is an inside parry. Now, although it doesn't say to slip your leg on the parry, I think by this stage in the manual, if you're doing a normal inside parry, you do it in the normal way. I don't just want to stand here and take this blow. Okay? If I'm in a slightly wide stance, my leg's in danger. If I'm in a wider stance, I run into mechanical issues, and as he's aiming at my triangle point, I'll have difficulty parrying it anyway. So if you normally parry inside on a slip, when it says parry inside, I'm going to do it on the slip. There we are. Now, here's the next issue. His sword is there. I don't want to then take my sword away and try and get it round the outside somehow while that is there as a threat. And it's not the sort of thing I would normally do. So just to be really clear about this problem, if we are crossed hilt to hilt, as I would if I were lunging forward, I can change to the outside, controlling my opponent's sword, if you define that as a change to the outside. If I'm crossed anywhere else, however, I can't do it. To get to an outside from here, my choices are to try and disengage around this point somehow, which is obviously a stupid and risky thing to do. Or if I try and use my hilt to get over the top, I just present my wrist to him as I do the change. I ambuscade myself in Page's terms. And the reason why the other interpretations were doing things like folding the sword down or around is that's the only sensible way to get there. So against a static sword, if I have made my parry and somehow I'm supposed to get to the outside guard, I can't do it while it's there. I can't go to the outside. I'll just expose myself and he will hit me. So it does not work. Now, here's the next issue. His sword is there. I don't want to then take my sword away and try and get it round the outside somehow while that is there as a threat. And it's not the sort of thing I would normally do. Okay? My normal sequence from here would be parry inside, change to the outside guard, and cut at his head. Stepping forward in the direction I came from, if necessary. That's what I would normally do. And if he left his sword there, on the parry, I would probably grab it. But of course, nobody who's well trained in broadsword is going to be silly enough to leave their sword there. And this is the key point, is that British manuals generally give you half the sequence in their lessons and plays, and they don't tell you what the other guy's doing. They assume you know that. So what would the attacker normally do? So if I'm going to be the attacker and you parry, having made my attack and having been parried, I would normally then recover my sword into a guard. And the way Page would do that would be to recover to an outside. That intercepts the riposte. So you can parry a riposte at a normal speed. There we are. That's what I would normally do. So, okay, that's the recovery. And I can't hit him. So, if I can't hit him, what do I do? I bare his sword. Now, I can do my disarm. Let's turn that around and do it the other way. He attacks. I parry. He recovers before I can riposte. So there's no point in riposting. So just go to the guard. So I go, all right, well, if I can't riposte at his head because his sword's in the way, I will bear it aside. And when I get my bearing, I step in with my half lunge. That puts me in a distance to do the disarm. So I think this is it. I think we've cracked it, but we've got to do the normal stuff. The attacker has got to attack, and recover in the normal fashion. And this gives me an alternative to just riposting. Okay? Now what if he uses a different recovery, such as that one? Now I can't hit him, but now I have an alternative. Instead of riposting into a closed line, I bear the sword. Oh, I can still do it. Okay? So this is what I think the full sequence is. Everybody is doing normal stuff. The attacker is making a normal attack and then recovering in the normal manner. The defender is doing a normal parry and then responding in a clever way. Instead of riposting into my recovery, where he's not going to hit me, he's going to bear my sword aside. And suddenly, you can step in, disarming. I think we're there.
So what makes me jolly excited about this is not just that we may have finally cracked the Turkish Disarm, but the principle that lies behind it. Okay, so normally in broadsword, you parry, you riposte, and if the other person recovers quickly enough, you won't be able to hit them. And your only real options are to riposte to a target that is not as direct, such as going for the leg, which is risky, or delaying your riposte, the slow hand, as we would have it, hoping that they will recover and stay in distance so that you can hit them somewhere else. But of course, if they are good at flying out of distance, that doesn't work either. So now we have another option. We can parry, and if their recovery is too quick for our riposte to land, we can now bear the sword in. And this will work against any recovery after any attack in any line. The same principle can be applied in lots and lots of different circumstances. And I think that we may well find that all the sort of bearing in actions that you get in the manuals work much, much better in this phase of the fight than they do if you're just standing on guard and pushing people's swords around and expecting them to react in the way that the manual seems to expect them to react, because they don't. You start making actions on people's blades and they pull it back and they run away. And very rarely do you get anything that you can work with. If, however, we start bearing as people are after an attack, as they're starting to withdraw, and then their sword is pushed aside, I think that's when we're going to get that instantaneous, somewhat panicky reaction, the natural reaction that we're looking for in the manuals. So all I can say is cheers to the scientific method. It works.